Hi, Omkar. Welcome to my podcast, Down and Dirty, where we are going to get into the weeds of your favorite design tool. For everyone who's watching this right now, Omkar Mahimkar is the lead designer and associate VP at Motilal Oswal. And I'm so excited to have you here. With such an extensive career in design, I want to get absolutely down into the details of your favorite design tool and how you use it every day, and any advice you might have for designers who are embarking on their own design journey.
Yeah, hi Tapsi, and it feels good to be here. And let's get into the conversation.
Perfect. So can you let's just take a step back before we talk about the tool itself. Uh,
Yeah.
Someone who may be new to the space of UI UX design, can you take us through a day in your life as a designer?
So basically, I lead a team. Okay, and what the thing is, managing. So I not only manage the team, but I also work as a designer myself. Okay, uh, because I don't want to become that manager who just manages the team. Yeah. Otherwise, I'll become irrelevant sometime soon. Okay. So on any given day, I do both. Managing and working myself. Okay. So giving tasks to my team members and following up with them, giving design walkthroughs to different stakeholders, then doing the design handoffs to developers, and then giving support to developers. Sometimes they ask questions about what is the flow, they miss out on certain things. In spite of certain documentation, some new questions arise, so giving proper support to them, that's important. And then the regular UX stuff, creating wireframes for a given problem and creating their visual designs. If sometimes many things come to me at the same time, so delegating tasks to somebody else. uh, then attending many meetings, getting briefs from people and giving opinions on designs made by some other team. Yeah, that's basically sums up my day.
So, as associate VP, how much, or lead designer, how much time are you actually spending design? How much time do you get to actually design versus manage?
Okay, what a question. And I'm sure it's coming from somebody who has done it. Okay. Yeah. So so basically I'm in a constant struggle, about how much time I'm going to give to myself too, because people are just asking certain things, and I'm also obliged to help them,
Of
right?
course.
Yeah. So I cannot say that, okay, now I'm working, don't disturb me. Although that's also a mode of work for some designers or some team leads, but I generally tend to give more attention to the team than myself. So on any given day, I don't think I give more than, uh, let's say if the working hours are 8 hours, right, in a day, then
Mm.
8 to 9 hours, then I end up designing myself for not more than 4 hours.
Mm.
Hmm. And sometimes it goes
That's
even
still
less.
great. I was
Hmm?
going to say 50% is great if you're getting to do design work.
Not every day though. Not
Not
every
every.
day it reaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so what is the most rewarding and the least rewarding part of your work, not as a manager, but
Hmm.
as a designer? So put on your designer hat. And what is the most rewarding and least rewarding part of?
Okay, most rewarding and least rewarding as
Yes,
a designer, not as a manager.
yes, as a designer.
So I love designing. Okay,
Mm.
and then eventually I got into UX. Okay, and UX is like way more than just the look and feel part or the aesthetics part, right? So, and UX is basically about problem solving. Okay, more or less. Okay, so giving a simple yet elegant solution to any given problem is what I love doing. Okay, then the most rewarding part actually comes when app users appreciate a particular experience, and then when the analytics starts showing that, the some sale has increased because of certain problem getting out of the way, or some struggle what the users were facing has gone, and the overall experience, or they are liking that overall thing, then that's where I feel okay, that's the rewarding part, me as a designer again.
Correct, correct.
Okay. This is also an overlap between how I feel as a manager as well. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And then coming to non-rewarding part. Okay. So what I don't absolutely hate as a completely opposite of rewarding, is that some brief was given, okay, and then you create a solution based on that brief. Okay, whatever it is required, you got it done, right? Doing the right research, then getting a hold of the stakeholders and showing them your solution, and also understanding their point of view. Okay, and then at some point, if the, like, let's say management or some other factor decides that, okay, we don't actually want to do that whole, let's say, let's say a new feature was to be made, and that whole feature didn't got through because of some management based decision. So that is something which I hate.
So all the time that goes into it, the ideation, the effort, the execution, and then it just gets deprioritized.
Yeah, it also gets demotivating. But what? Over the years, I can't expect, like, okay, 100% of my work has to go live. But yeah, whenever it happens, it's slightly demotivating. But you know what? I got habituated to these type of things. These is a part and parcel of life, and these type of things are going to happen. But sometimes team members really get demotivated, and and to keep their morale on par, that's something becomes a challenge.
For sure. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's jump right into the tools then that you have used. So over the years, over 15 years of experience in design, what are some tools that you've used? Let's not talk about the favorite one yet, but what are some names that come to mind as you have honed your skills as a designer?
Okay, so when I started my career, right, in design, basically even before I started my career, so when I was in college, at that time the first design tool which I had used was CorelDRAW. Okay, I think this is a story with several designers from India at least. And yeah, so the CorelDRAW was, my mind was blown at that time what it can do. And basically there was no benchmark. It was the first design tool I was using. Okay, and yeah, so I kept using that for a while during college time and even after college. But soon, once I was in I became a professional, I understood that in the market, Adobe products are more suitable, or they are more preferred by the agencies and even some clients. At least on international level, CorelDRAW doesn't have much of a recognition. It's more in Asia. So going in Adobe territory, yeah, I've used Photoshop a lot. Okay. And Illustrator. Okay. Yeah, so that was about Adobe. And when I started UI UX design, okay, so in UI there are a lot of people who have started their UI designs in Illustrator or Photoshop. Okay, so I have done UI designs in both. Okay. Yeah, and then what we used to do, there's an application called as InVision, which is online, and using InVision you can do some prototyping over there. So that used to happen. And then one fine day, I don't remember the date exactly, but I think it's sometime 2011. Okay, that Sketch came into market, and Sketch was a real game changer. Okay, so even though Sketch had come, that particular office was trying to stick to the old traditional application, Photoshop and Illustrator thing, and we continued to use that way into even in 2014, 2015 we were using that. Okay, just because at least the companies where I have worked, they were sort of not trying to move on. Okay, so but I learned Sketch on my own, and then I had to give it a demo to my organization. Then we implemented Sketch in that organization, and yeah, so today we have along with Sketch we have Adobe XD and Figma as well, and then also InVision made their own app called as Studio, which I don't think has seen much of a success. I tried using it, but I think Adobe XD, then Figma and InVision Studio. all three of them owe their existence or owe their concept to Sketch. Sketch is the one which showed that, okay, why do we need to have so many tools? It was like completely optimized for how an app for UI design should be. Okay, and it was like real killer. And then Adobe XD came, and I was excited about Adobe XD because it's made by Adobe. So I thought, okay, it might have done it a better job. And I think the main thing what Adobe XD brought into picture was prototyping. Okay, so that removed the need of using another application just for prototyping, which was like InVision or something. Okay, so that move, Adobe XD was cool, and also it had its own charm, and yeah, it was cool for a while. Yeah, and then Figma came into picture. And once I started using Figma, there is a bit of difference between how Figma is there and XD is there. So after a little bit of learning curve issues, I realized that Figma is real cool. It's awesome, and the ease of use and everything was just awesome. Yeah.
So
And
let
I
me ask
also
you.
use. Yeah,
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, I was just going to pick up on the thread saying, how is Figma for you different from XD? What was the game? What was the differentiator?
Okay, there are quite a few points why I chose to now. Let's say from last 3 years, or 3 or a little bit more than that, I'm fully into Figma. Okay. Of course, from time to time, to let's say for image editing or something, we have to use Photoshop, or some print related stuff happens, then Illustrator is the thing. Some old files, if we want to refer, then XD I definitely go to. But the purpose is not design over there. Anything design, I just like move it to Figma, and that's the yeah. But answering your question, why Figma? Okay, so there are certain tools. So there are certain tools in Figma which really keep it like in a complete different league, where XD is not there at all. Okay, and it's not like my what you can say. It's not based on my opinion. There are certain things which just Figma does better. Okay. Yeah.
So why is that? Why is that? That nicely segues into what is it that you need to get done in the day that Figma allows you to do well?
Yeah. So one part where my mind was blown in Figma, right? Now XD also does that, not in a very smooth way as what Figma does, which is collaboration. Okay, collaboration with the team. Okay, so we can like so during lockdown, so I was at home, everybody was at home, but we were all working, and so at that time Figma really helped me to work with the team. So we like 2 or 3 designers, we used to be in the same file and discussing, and then Figma also introduced that you can call using Figma. I was no longer even dependent on Zoom or Google Meet. We can just used to just call, and we can point out things and write down things over there, and it was a brilliant tool.
Okay.
Yeah. Lockdown without Figma would have been very different.
No, so would I be right in assuming then that the tipping point for Figma, in addition to obviously some of the features that it offers that XD doesn't offer, but the tipping point was needing to collaborate at a time when everyone was stuck working from home?
Yeah, you can say that, let's say if Figma wouldn't have existed, then I would have managed with XD somehow,
Correct.
in a more traditional way, like, by doing screen sharing on something. But Figma does more than just screen sharing. Like, like you can tell your teammate to follow you, then they see exactly what you are saying, but not in a pixel way, and they can also be a part of the same file at the same time. Screen sharing is not the same.
Got it. Understood. So, okay. So let's get into the tool itself now for a second. I'm going to give you share screen. There you go. You can now share your screen. And what I would like you to do, Omkar, is let's pretend that you have logged into work. It's a work day. It's Tuesday morning. You've come to work. And I want you to open up your screen and tell me, if you had to get in, what's the first thing? What's the first interaction? What kind of interaction do you have with Figma when you first log in?
Okay, I'll start screen sharing.
Yes, please.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So here is Figma. Actually, there's something work prior to this meeting I was already working, which is open here. But let me
Okay.
go
All
through
right.
the file browser of Figma.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Figma allows me to, like this file browser is really cool. Okay. Yeah, Adobe also has this thing where you can upload all your documents, or you can keep your documents online. Okay. But the experience over there is real painful compared to this. So this is like a very simple, you can make projects, and each project can have multiple files. Okay, and each file can have multiple pages. So the one difference between XD is that okay, you can create folders and everything, and we can, let's say that the projects here can be called as folders in XD. Okay, yeah, it's somewhat similar concept. However, what happens is see here, you can see like my AMC investor app.
Yes.
Okay, so in that there are several files which are useful for that particular project. Okay, and each project can have their own nitty-gritties and several flows within that. So major difference is here a file can have multiple pages. Okay, and
Okay.
that particular page will not have any boundaries as such. Okay,
Okay.
if there is a boundary, I haven't found it yet. Okay, but then in XD, the you cannot have multiple pages, so you end up making several files.
Okay.
Too
Okay.
many
So this is
files
a
are going to happen. Yeah.
got it.
So let's say
Much
if
better
I
nesting.
yeah. So a particular flow in an app can have, like, I don't know, like sometimes it goes like 60, 70 screens, and that's not the entire app. The entire app can be like, I don't know, like up to like 1,000 screens or something. So XD doesn't help me in managing that. But Figma, the way Figma is, it just makes it fairly easy.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's say I open a new file. Okay. See, this is a new file. There is nothing here, right? Uh, hmm, okay. Okay. Then hmm, okay. So in here I So having a layout grid is extremely important for me in any design. Okay, if I miss it out, then I get angry on myself. Okay, and so if any particular team member has not done it, then that's not really appreciated. Okay,
Okay.
it's not that I am a big fan of grids, but then the purpose of the grid is such that it helps us to be in a little bit of discipline. Okay, and it also helps the developers, that they can also develop it based on columns and everything. So what I've done in Figma here is I've just made one particular style which adds columns as well as a grid over there. So I'm just going to apply that. I selected here, and uh, yeah, there it is. See, you can see that it has added 4 columns based
Yes.
on something already decided. This is a column, this is a grid styling which I made. I use it for the entire app. Okay.
Okay.
So there is a 4-pixel grid which I use as a baseline grid and
Right.
to align things to. And there are 4 columns as well. Okay. So any design of mine has to have that. Okay. So
Okay.
the moment I have a blank canvas, I have to put it first, and then the design starts. Okay. Then let's say what's there next to be added in the screen. Okay, so basic things, even before actually you design something. So the first basic was to have this grid. Then the second basic is since let's say this is a screen for iPhone, then it needs to have the status bar here. Okay, and here is something where Figma really shines. Okay, XD also has components, by the way, but the components in Figma are bit better. Okay, so let's say I go here and Yeah. Okay. Since this is a new file, it's not really connected to my library. So let me connect my library. So I go here, and so these are the several libraries I have, okay, which I have made
Okay.
here. So I'll
Yeah.
just turn this particular library on, okay, and there it goes as a, okay. Now if I go here, you can see there are, okay. So what I need here, so not footer, components, and see, every library is very much organized.
Very
Now,
organized.
yeah. So organized is based on two things. I can be organized, and Figma helps me to be organized.
Huh.
Okay. So it's like a little bit of effort from Figma as well as from myself, and it's very
Absolutely.
awesome. Yeah, myself and as well as the team. Okay. So let me go here, and there is status bar. Okay. And there it comes in the design, and I can just align it here. Okay. So that has come, and I can also like go here and type over there. Okay. So yeah. So this is also something an iPhone has at the bottom. So there you
Right.
go. So this is some basic thing which I will do in anything.
So it's easy to start a project, is what you're saying. You just come in, you know how you want to set up your grid. You have something templatized already. You have your library set up,
Correct.
and you can just dive right in. Is this
Yeah, yeah.
similar to, if you had to compare this to some other design tools that you've used,
Hmm.
is this a similar onboarding process for other tools if you had to start a project just like what you showed me in XD or in some
Hmm.
other application?
So so it's been quite a while I've used Sketch, okay,
Huh.
and I'm sure any app becomes better over time. So till the time when I was using Sketch, I had not found it to be. Although Sketch was still blowing my mind, because at that time the comparison was with Photoshop or Illustrator. So that won't be fair now. But compared to XD, okay, so XD also has some styling parts here and there, okay, but the way how you use the library, okay, is they also have a library, okay, but how to update the library, how to enable the library, how to turn off a library, pulling things out of a library into the design, that becomes slightly more labor intensive. Some more steps are needed. Okay, so yeah, XT helps me to set up a new file or any particular screen.
Yeah, but ironically, it is the user experience of XD which is not as good as Figma.
Yeah. Yeah, an app made for XD, yes. Hmm.
Right, right, right. Okay, so uh, let's talk about the importance of having this, the importance of using templates in your work, right? Things where
Hmm.
you, like you said, it's the way your library is organized, right? The way
Hmm.
things headers are laid out.
Hmm.
You gave importance to the fact that nesting worked a certain way in Figma. When you logged in, you have projects can have multiple pages are relatively never ending, so you can keep adding to
Hmm.
that. So it seems like, this is an organized mind, right? And you like things to be in a certain way and easily accessible. Is
Hmm.
that, talk to me about how, uh, so no rather, it seems that Figma is enabling you to do that, to stay organized
True. Yes, totally.
in a way that XD is doing it, but not as well as Figma is.
Yeah, you said it right. XD is doing it, but not as cool as Figma. And
Okay.
Figma allows me to be as much as organized I want to be.
Okay, and that's pretty important for you. I'm assuming because you are also dealing with multiple teams, multiple projects. You're a manager. I mean, you're more,
Yes.
an associate VP, which means your plate is full, your table is full of all the tasks that you possibly have to do. So everything has to be, easy to get to, and easy to
Yeah.
get out.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. So collaboration, team level collaboration, as well as organization of information
Hmm.
is what matters a lot to you when it comes to using a design tool. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, it is totally fair to say. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Because let's say if
Huh.
I keep the things slightly loose, right? If I'm not organized,
Yeah,
okay, then I cannot expect my team to be organized.
correct. Makes sense.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It makes sense. So are there any particular features that you would want to call out in Figma while we have the screen open that you use very often? I mean, I saw you activate your library, but are there any other things where you're like, you know what, I use this part of the tool quite a lot? Is there anything?
Yes. I'll want love to show that.
Yes.
Okay. But I would just like to add something to your previous topic, which was about templates.
Please.
Okay.
Yes.
So the way I'm using Figma, right, is allowing me to be more and more productive. Okay. So the way I'm creating templates or usable components, okay, I'm even getting slightly matured in that. Okay. So I'd shown you this, right? Which
Yes.
is a small piece. Okay. Then let's say I got buttons to use. Okay. So I'll just okay. Uh, button. Okay. So I have put a button here. Okay. Now let's say I want to make a design where clicking on this button should open a menu.
Okay.
Okay. So like till few months back, I had made a component of the menu. But what I'm doing is, let's say this screen is all filled with a lot of stuff, many buttons and some imagery and whatnot, right? So what I can do is, even the entire menu is now a template. Okay. So what I mean is, I have to do this. Okay. So here you can see there is a menu. There's a whole bunch of templates which I call as pop-up screens. Okay.
Okay.
And here you can see there is a menu. So we can see that I can have a menu like this here. Okay. All I have to do is write down the title for that menu.
Wow.
And yeah. Okay. Okay. And it can be anything, right? Like whatever I want to, like, rock,
Correct.
metal. Okay. And for that particular screen, let's say I don't want to show this as particular selected. So I can even do this. I want to show this as selected now. And there you go.
Okay. And you're showing this to me, and are you telling me that you're basically highlighting how easy it is to kind of create a template and also modify that template for whatever use case or design stage you're at?
Yeah, sometimes creation of the template may take some time, because what type of complexity you want to add to it, it depends on.
Right.
Yeah. So let me give an example of that too. Okay. I'll remove this button. See, for example, I have this button here. Okay.
Yeah.
So this button has a little bit of more complexity in it. Okay. So complexity from a point of view of when I created that button.
Yeah.
Okay. While using it, it is making my life really simple at that time. But the creation was a little bit of complex task, because you have to think about the use cases and see how to actually implement it. Okay. So you can see that this is one button here, and you can see there are few options which I am getting here. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me just zoom in here. Okay. So I can, for a particular use case, I won't need this icon here. So I can remove that icon. Okay. But when that icon is there, I can even change the icon to something else. Okay. So now icon is here. Now I don't want this icon. So if I go into, let's say, icons here. Okay. I just want to have a plus icon here. Okay. So it made the icon to be plus. So don't think about styling, but let's say I don't want that icon in the first place. Maybe this button will not be the main button on the screen. So I don't want it to be like this big chunk of red. So I have a different styling. If I just turn this on, it becomes a button like this.
Yeah.
Right. And also if I want to show this, I'll revert it. Okay. So if I don't want to show this button this way, okay, and I want it, okay, there are certain buttons which are there on the screen but are not available for whatever reason. So I can just turn this on and it looks like a disabled button now.
Got it. So you're basically highlighting all the nuances, like all the,
Hmm.
you can make things as templatized or as personalized as you need it to be screen on screen, right?
Right.
With even with the template, you can modify it very easily.
Yeah. And another extension of the same example I'm going to give is now this button is on its own. Okay. But now this button has been used in a different component. Okay. Which is which is hmm, hmm, okay. So let's say we on several apps, right? There is always a button at the bottom, so the entire screen moves, right? You can scroll, but the button stays where at the bottom, right? So I've
Right.
made something like that. Okay, so let me just put it like that. Okay, so if, but sometimes what, in my design I want to have two buttons instead of one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can just turn this thing into two, and it starts showing two buttons.
So, Omkar, can I ask
Hmm.
you, how is
Yeah.
this experience
Hmm.
different from what you've experienced in XD, let's say?
Okay, so what I'm doing, see, you saw, right? I was just taking one
Yes.
particular component from that library. Okay,
Yeah.
but here I'm getting few menus which is allowing me to tweak it. Now,
Yes,
because
correct.
it is tweaking based on what I've already created as a template,
Yes.
right? It is not going out of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so this system is called as variants.
Hmm.
You create one component. Okay, for example, how this button right here, this button has
Yeah.
is red, now it is
Yeah.
white with outline. So the button has a variant. Okay,
Yeah.
and this component with two buttons has variant where now we can see two, now we can see one button, now we
Yes.
can have a small textual link below the button.
Yeah.
So these things are called as variants, and Figma allows me to create these variants. Okay, in XD, what I had to do is I had to create multiple components
Hmm.
for the same behavior.
I see. So
Yeah.
so Figma is also saving you time.
Yeah, while creating the component, it is slightly tricky, but
Yeah.
once you have done that, it becomes like on a daily basis, you don't have to create components. It's
Got
something
it.
when you are at the start of project, and then
Yeah.
you keep adding as we require.
Got
Hmm.
it. Understood. Understood. Um, so of the types of features that Figma offers,
Hmm.
is there anything where the application falls short, where something else actually does, some other competitor does some part of it better? Is there anything missing?
Yes, yes. In fact, but it's something, even though there is a shortcoming, I would
Hmm.
still live with it and still be with Figma. Okay. So what happens is, let's say you have made several screens, okay,
Hmm.
to show a particular flow, or sometimes, you just wanted to make a PDF to show something,
Hmm.
and there are several, what can say, artboards or several screens in that particular sequence, right, in that particular flow. Then in XD, if you just select them all, then you can save them as one PDF.
Okay.
Okay, but Figma doesn't do that. Figma will save, for example, in that flow there are 8 screens,
Hmm.
and if you tell Figma to save as PDF, then it will give you 8 PDFs.
Okay. Okay.
And then it will be my job to take another step in open Adobe Acrobat or something, and then stitch them together. So there's one, but as you can see, it's not much of a concern. It's not on a daily basis that I have to make PDFs.
Correct. Correct.
So
Okay.
it's fine if I have to do it sometime.
So it's a nice to have. It would be great if Figma was. It would be great if Figma watched this video and said, "You know what, Omkar's suggestion, we should incorporate it in our next in our next roadmap and our feature
Yeah, that will
release."
be cool. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Is there
yeah.
anything else, Omkar, that you feel where you feel Figma falls short?
Uh, yeah, there is. Even here, it's the same that okay, I'll still live with Figma.
Yes.
The thing is, I got so used to Figma. Okay, and I'm sure my colleagues would also, my colleagues or my team members, design team members will also share the same emotion. Is that there are certain parts of Figma are which are so easy, that once you are focusing in design, you have to just focus on design, and not how the application itself is working. Okay, but but when we have to do something in, let's say, Adobe Illustrator, sometimes, okay, we feel like it's some kind of some ancient app stuck in its old ways of working. Okay, now if we see Figma, when Figma started, Figma was not like what it was. Yeah, I'm not saying that is a day-night difference, but they are continuously improving the experience. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not saying that Illustrator has not improved. Okay, I'm seeing Illustrator from more than, let's say, or let's somewhat like 20 years. I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
Okay, and it has also improved, but it is still the same to a lot extent. How you use Figma, sorry, how you use
Illustrator.
Illustrator. Okay,
Yeah.
it's fairly the same. Okay, and it is becoming heavier and heavier every year. Okay, I'm sure, let's say, if you just open a blank file, it will be of like, I don't know, like some few MBs or something, and the moment you started designing in it, it becomes real heavy. Okay, so let's say you want to work in Illustrator and you're going to use some heavy files, you need to have real expensive computer with you. Okay, and in Figma just opens on any computer.
And
Figma
why
is
is
extremely
that
light.
important? Why is it important to you, Omkar, that it opens on any computer? Is it because you're working with your own computer at home? Is it because you travel with your computer, so you want something light where you can
No, in
open
fact,
it up?
I'm habituated to use, let's say, like using good quality computers. For example, I'm using Mac from 2007.
Okay.
So I'm fairly used to that thing. So I'm not even talking about myself. But what happens, let's say, if I want to give this, let's say somebody is added to the team temporarily and they don't have an expensive computer. So Figma really shines over there. I don't have to imagine that, okay, it was going to cost a lot or something. So that matters to me. And uh, yeah, and another thing is coming to the previous point, okay,
Yeah.
about what features are missing in Figma. Okay,
Yes.
being like for print, we are still heavily dependent on Illustrator. Not really anything like fundamentally wrong about it.
Yeah.
What happens is something which we are habituated to design in Figma, that same type of design method cannot be applied in Illustrator. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, of course, I'm not saying that Illustrator and Figma are the same, because Illustrator has certain things which Figma doesn't have.
Hmm.
Like I don't know, like some 3D stuff. I don't even know certain terms, like you can
Yeah.
create some wireframes of mesh, and you can give some what you can say, light and shadow and all those, some cool things are also there. But
Yeah.
I have seen like several designers, okay, and they hardly use those features.
Hmm.
Most illustrators, definitely not all, but
Yeah.
most people who design Illustrator don't use such advanced features. Okay, and those advanced features are making it heavy.
Understood.
Okay,
Understood.
yeah, but heaviness aside, what matters is to me, or what will matter to me, is how about I'm able to do even the print stuff in Figma.
Hmm.
Okay, but print stuff works with uh, uh, the CMYK colors, and
Okay.
and Figma is so much fine-tuned for the screen that it cannot have any other color mode or anything in it. It is always RGB and there's nothing else in it.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
going ahead, they may do it sometimes, they may not. Yeah, in fact, when I was talking to, there was one conversation with Figma, or people working in Figma. I had expressed that to them.
What did they say?
They were very happy to hear that, that I would like to even do print stuff in Figma. Uh, but they didn't promise me anything like that. I don't
Yeah.
think they're in their roadmap.
Right.
Yeah, but as I can see, after that conversation also, I think there was something few days back with Figma. I think last month there was some whole event over there where, like how Apple or Google do events.
Yeah.
So somewhat similar event was there, not exactly similar, but they have unveiled some new features in Figma. Okay, and those are pretty cool features. In fact, the features for designers are less this time, and features for developers have increased.
Okay.
Okay,
Interesting.
and that makes me happy. I'm not developer, but it still makes me happy because the development team and the design team can use the same application to see what how the specifications of a particular element is there. For example, the button which I was showing, how that
Yes.
button is constructed, and they can see how the rounded corner is there, what font is
Yeah.
getting used, their spacing and everything they can see in it. Okay. And now Figma also gives some kind of, I don't know, like language for Swift and code for Swift and HTML and whatnot. Uh, I'm not developer. I'm not the best
Yeah.
one person
Yeah.
to talk about coding, but yeah.
So for all the types of designers out there, early stage designers, mature designers, interaction designers, graphic designers, visual designers,
Hmm.
who would you recommend Figma in particular to? What kind of designer does it really solve
So
the needs for?
obviously Figma has been always made for UX. Okay, that's the
Hmm?
primary thing where it shines.
Correct.
Okay, because I would say like those buttons and variants are more useful in
Yes.
UI design. However, even designs which are not really UI, like
Hmm.
making some PDFs, even there Figma can do a phenomenal job. And we have done that previously. So I
Okay.
have some experience in that. So even PDFs can be done in Figma,
Got it.
and those can have links, and it can
Yeah.
be, yeah, the real pain only will be to stitch several pages in a separate application.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So generally, I mean, yes, of course, we know that
Hmm.
Figma is quickly becoming the tool of choice for UI UX designers.
Hmm.
And interestingly, though, from our conversation, what I've also gotten is for someone who's at a managerial level, right? Someone
Hmm.
who's managing teams,
Hmm.
the standout features of Figma,
Hmm.
going even beyond the nuances of design features, is are things like collaborations,
Hmm.
the ability to bring multiple teams in, the ability to
Hmm.
share file sizes that are not too big, so you can share it with other team members who may or may not have super souped up computers.
Yeah.
It is the ability to organize components and to organize projects and files within them, so that again it's easy to find. I imagine, especially as teams get big or you're managing multiple projects, to know exactly where to go and find stuff very quickly. These are
Yes.
interesting. These are very interesting takeaways for a design tool, because it's what you're
Yeah.
basically saying is it's not just the design features; it's all these other things that you need to manage design on a
Yeah.
day-to-day basis that makes one tool stand out over another.
Yeah. Totally.
That is fantastic. That's
Yeah, and
fantastic.
yeah, in all this we are, or let's say I forgot to tell one more thing. Like uh,
Yes.
in when I was working in XD, okay,
Hmm.
so the design handoff was slightly painful over there.
Hmm.
So it has some mode which I don't remember the name now, that you can export it, and then a link gets created, and when the developers open that link, then they get to see several specifications over there. Okay. So but that specifications were not really right at that time. I don't know, maybe by now XD has solved it or not.
Hmm.
So at that time we used to use an application called as Zeppelin. Okay,
Okay.
so all the screens we have to export it to Zeppelin and
Hmm.
give the Zeppelin link to developers, and they used to get whatever they wanted from Zeppelin. So
Okay.
that was not only an added cost for that Zeppelin application, but also the designer has to every time update that file, keep updating.
Oh,
So
okay,
that
okay.
was and so that whole part is gone from the workflow, right? So
Correct,
basically
correct.
whatever you have designed, the same design can be seen uh, by the developer in the same pages, and they get to
Got it.
see their developer things, or you can say the specifications of elements which they want to see.
Got it. Understood. 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 Okay, this is great. I mean, these are fantastic insights, especially because they're so unique and important in the context of what you do on a day-to-day basis,
Hmm.
as someone who's overseeing teams, but also designing yourself. So I'm glad that we had this conversation. Are there any last comments, last thoughts that you want to mention regarding, Figma or, design tools in general for designers out there?
Hmm. Uh, Yeah, based on, now this is all based on my experience, and there can be some subjectivity here. Okay.
Sure.
So in this whole conversation, I was talking about how uh, applications for UI have evolved, like only Illustrator and Photoshop, and then
Mhm.
Sketch, and then XD, and then Figma. Right now, like Figma is my favorite. I'm sure
Yes.
many people will say the same about Figma. Okay. But there is one toolkit, or let's say tool, okay,
Mm.
which in my experience, okay, several young designers I see not using it.
Okay. Which one
Okay,
is that?
a pencil and paper for ideation.
Okay.
Hmm.
And why are you advocating for a pencil and paper? Retell.
So when you are ideating, right, on a
Yeah.
let's say you have there is a particular flow you want to create, then creating a flow chart on pencil, that becomes important. That's from an interaction design point of view. But when you are, let's say, making visual design, then you can make several possibilities very quickly on a paper.
Hmm.
Okay, you can say, okay, how about I do this, how about do that, and so so if you try to do the same on any computer, let it be Figma or any application,
Yeah.
okay, it takes way more time. Okay, let's say
Right.
even if you decide, okay, I don't want to make something which is really final, but I'm still making rough. Okay, okay, but then why
Yeah.
are you not making rough on paper? Okay, the more time you put on computer, why don't you just put it on paper? You can have 5 options when you can just make one in computer. Then we can discuss.
Okay.
Once
So
you
now,
are going to give designs out of the design team, let's say
yeah,
you're showing some options to stakeholder, yeah, you should use computer, and be
correct.
conscious about the presentation, how it will be, and finishing and everything. Yeah, but within design team, I think uh, paper and pencil has to be there.
All right. So start with paper and pencil and then end with a flourish using Figma.
Yeah, you said it better.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Omkar, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, especially in the middle of a work day. And I wish you a great rest of your Tuesday
Yeah,
afternoon.
thank you. Same to you.
Okay. All right. Bye, Omkar. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.